DevOps is probably less competitive than some of the
Okay.
developer roles. My advice would be have a small portfolio. And it's not going to be your regular like developer portfolio. Deploy a small website using DevOps principles, deploy it to a cloud. Continuous improvement, continuous learning is key to DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Joining me today is Monica Gorgillo, and she is a DevOps engineer. So, Monica, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Monica, can you explain what a DevOps engineer is?
I'll do my best. At a very high level, I bring websites and mobile apps into the world.
Okay.
I work with developers to automate, test, and secure applications uh, that come into production.
Okay.
Um, and I'm also kind of like a hybrid between a system administrator and a developer.
Okay.
Dev is for developer, ops is for the operations side.
Okay.
I do have to monitor the applications. So imagine a world where google.com or amazon.com is down. That's probably
Mm.
not good. um, and then I guess I'm the bridge between the folks that write the application code and
Mhm.
then the folks that manage the underlying servers and infrastructure.
Okay, amazing. And what made you want to get into this career path, and how did you get your start in it?
No kid grows up wanting to be a DevOps engineer. Um, I think the average kid thinks about becoming a doctor or an astronaut.
Yeah. Mm.
I wanted to be an astronaut. Then I realized I have an issue with heights, so that
Oh,
didn't work out. Um, then I wanted to be a doctor, but then I realized um, no, not for me. And
okay.
kind of at the same time, my father was the one that introduced me to computers.
Okay.
Um, I, I think I was in middle school or high school when I first built a little small website. I won't tell you where it was hosted because this was a long time ago and it was terrible, but I had an animated background. So that can kind of give you an idea of how old it was. Um, so I did wanted to continue. I got a degree in computer information systems.
Okay.
I started my career at Hewlett Packard in backups. That's where
Okay.
I got my first taste of Unix and Linux. And then from there, cloud computing was getting popular. So I got a certification in AWS cloud computing.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I landed my first DevOps role.
Okay, amazing. And what parts of the job are the most exciting or the most interesting to you?
There's a lot. I really enjoy playing with new things, or I guess I
Mhm.
mean researching with new things, new technology. That's probably my favorite part of the day. I get to try something new every day.
Okay, amazing. And on the flip side, is there anything that you find more challenging or maybe not so fun?
Uh, yes. So the technical part can be hard,
Okay.
but since I love it and I love learning, that's not really the hard part.
Okay.
Um, the hard part is probably people. I think I have a better time with like computers and robots versus people. Um, but this particular role requires strong teamwork.
Okay.
So if you're not a team player or your communications skills needs work, it's going to be very hard to be a
Mm,
bridge between developers and
yeah.
infrastructure. Um, and then um, engineers tend to have huge egos, developers
Mm,
tend to have huge egos. So that's
okay.
something that you have to deal with, including myself. Um, so if you're a lone wolf, this might be a little difficult for you.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And now, what are some things that you think that people might underestimate or overestimate about this job?
I mentioned earlier that Linux and cloud got me my
Mhm.
first role in DevOps.
Okay.
I think people underestimate the number of tools that need to be learned. Each
Okay.
tech stack, each tech environment is completely different from company to company. You
Okay.
have to learn multiple tools and you have to learn how to best integrate them
Right.
into the company, into the business.
Okay. Perfect. So now let's go more into what the industry looks like. So, what are some niches that people can choose to specialize within DevOps engineering?
Let's see, traditional DevOps engineers deploy websites and mobile apps.
Hmm.
Now, you've probably heard in the news, AI is pretty popular and it's
Right.
concerning, right? Um, you can apply those similar DevOps concepts to deploying AI ML models.
Okay.
So that specialization is called ML
Mm.
Ops engineer,
Okay.
or sometimes just ML engineer.
Okay, amazing. And now, from my research before we got on this call, it looks like the average income for a DevOps engineer is about $106,000 a year. So, from your experience, do you think that's accurate? What do you think about that number?
I will say that's probably a little bit on the low end,
Okay.
um, considering inflation
Hmm.
and experience. I would say maybe that might be okay for a junior.
Okay.
Um, but once you go kind of uh, like more than 4 or 5 years of experience and up, I would say it's
Hmm.
probably closer to 130 to 150K.
Okay.
And it might be a little higher, especially if you're maybe at a management level. So like a
Okay.
DevOps manager or something.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. And now, who would you say are some of the biggest employers of this industry?
Uh, so it's pretty much any company that uses software, which
Okay.
is just about all companies nowadays, right?
Hmm.
Everybody has software. Um, but IBM, Google, Microsoft, Meta, uh, JP Morgan, and the list
Hmm.
goes on and on. And it's not just big companies, it's smaller companies too and startups.
Okay, perfect. And what are some current trends or challenges in the industry, and how do you see it changing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Current trends, I mentioned AI,
Hmm.
but there's also security. Security is very important. I won't mention which outage happened recently, but there was a security outage that happened. So that's still top of mind for everybody. Um, I see DevOps, DevSecOps becoming more popular as a title.
Okay.
So if you do have those Linux cloud skills, you might as well throw in a security certificate
Yeah.
on top of that. Um, Data privacy is a huge challenge. Kind of
Hmm.
ties into the security as well. You want to make sure that customer data is secured at every stage of the
Okay.
application lifecycle. AI will continue to trend. I don't think it's going to replace everybody just
Hmm.
yet. So, um, but I do believe AI will make people more productive. And then in my role, I think it's going to help automate or create some extra automation scripts and automate testing.
Okay, amazing. And how do you stay updated with all of the latest developments of the field?
I attend a lot of DevOps or cloud related conferences.
Okay.
Um, that community, DevOps community, is pretty
Hmm.
tight knit, and it's a small world in tech. But if you can't meet in, in real life,
Hmm.
there's a ton of virtual meetups as well.
Okay.
And there's a Discord channel out there for DevOps folks.
Okay. Perfect. And now let's go into what your daily life looks like. So, what's your schedule like, and what tasks do you spend the majority of your day doing?
A typical day at work for me, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is just working with developers,
Hmm.
but it's also working with something called like pipelines.
Okay.
And pipelines is just another word for automation. It's used to get applications deployed quickly, consistently, and securely. I'm not the traditional software developer, so I have to
Hmm.
leverage both infrastructure skills and scripting skills to get apps deployed to production safely.
Okay.
The average day involves deploying new code to
Hmm.
production, or
Hmm.
actually to staging environment first and then production.
Okay.
Maybe troubleshooting any outages that might happen.
Hmm.
And then my favorite part, trying out new things.
Okay, and are you able to work any flexible hours with your job? Do you have to be in the office from 9 to 5, or can you work from home? What does that side look like?
This really depends on the company. Um, it,
Hmm.
it, it, and it sort of depends on your industry.
Okay.
If you're maybe in a more conservative industry like financial, it might be a little
Hmm.
bit more strict. Um, but where I'm at, it's a hybrid setting.
Okay.
And I do prefer a hybrid setting because there's some times where I get more answers when I meet the person in
Hmm.
like in real life in the office.
Yeah.
And it's harder for you to just kind of avoid me or ghost me. um, but if I do need to work remote, like say something needs to be done at the house or I'm waiting on delivery, I can do that. So it's flexible.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And would you say that there are any busy seasons with this job?
Let's see. That also depends on the company.
Okay.
So like retailers are probably busy around the holidays. Maybe
Hmm.
a lot of new features are coming out. I wouldn't say there's really a busy season, um, n- except maybe if you're pushing out something new and it's
Okay.
towards the end of like the sprint.
Hmm.
Um, but if everything's automated correctly, it's not going to be busy for you.
True. Okay, so now going into the specific skills that are required to become a DevOps engineer, what are the certain degrees or certifications that you need for this job?
It does help to have a computer science or computer information system degree,
Okay.
but it's not required.
Okay.
You could have maybe a boot camp experience. The degree is not required.
Okay.
Um, some companies might require it, but I see a trend of it, that hard requirement going away.
Hmm.
I do recommend getting an entry level certification in a cloud of your choice. So
Okay.
AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, you pick, and then Linux. You're going to need Linux for that automation.
Okay. And what do you think are some natural strengths or talents that would make someone a good DevOps engineer?
Teamwork is essential. That's the main principle of DevOps. It's taking ownership of whatever the issue is and not
Okay.
saying, oh, that's not my job. It's really about teamwork and about collaboration and taking full ownership of the pipeline.
And as a DevOps engineer, what do you end up thinking about all day? What are some topics or subject matters that you have to be really interested in to like this job?
I think about how to reduce defects,
Hmm.
how I think about how to make the automation or the pipelines run faster.
Hmm.
Um, and then most recently, how to make it run cheaper. So FinOps. And then, of course, I think about security. How can I make it more secure? Um, you do have to be interested in tech. You have to be interested in Linux and cloud
Mm,
and containerization and working as a team.
yeah. And what tools or technologies do you see that you use a lot as part of your job?
This varies by, I guess, tech stack or
Hmm.
tech environment and by
Okay.
company. But I use a lot of Linux, a lot of AWS cloud, Docker,
Okay.
Kubernetes, Bitbucket pipelines, and much more. Jenkins is pretty popular as a CI/CD tool. Um, there's a ton of tools in DevOps.
Okay. Thank you for those. Now we want to give our listeners a little bit of advice. So, what do you recommend that candidates that are interested in this job do to set themselves apart from other candidates?
I will say DevOps is probably less competitive than some of the
Okay.
developer roles.
Okay.
Um, my advice would be have a small portfolio, and it's not going to
Mm,
be your regular like developer portfolio. Deploy a small website using DevOps principles, deploy it to a cloud.
Mhm.
I know AWS has some, a free tier. Once you actually do that, this will prove that you understand both the infrastructure side and the automation side.
And if someone wants to make a pivot from another career into this one without going back to school, or if they have a non-traditional background, what do you recommend they do?
Get a certification in a cloud.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter which one, just pick one. Get a Linux either certification or watch a couple Linux like Udemy
Mm,
or even some good YouTube videos.
okay,
And then to actually prove that you understood those, build that small little website in the cloud
okay,
somewhere.
okay, perfect. And what are some books, resources, or programs that you recommend our listeners look into?
If you can just search this, Google this,
Mhm.
go to cloudresumechallenge.dev,
Okay,
and it pretty much walks you through building that small little website in the cloud. I definitely recommend doing that.
okay,
It's a good ebook to follow. Um, I recommend Udemy and AWS Skill Builder.
okay, perfect. And now, finally, if you could talk to your younger self when you were just starting off in your career, what advice would you give them?
Don't don't be intimidated by other people.
Okay.
Don't worry that they might have more experience than you. Don't underestimate the value of a fresh perspective and what your
Okay.
life experience brings to the table. Stay curious. Continuous improvement, continuous learning is key to DevOps.
Mhm.
And finally, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, so where can people reach out to you or follow along with your work?
I'm on LinkedIn. You
Mhm.
can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Threads. Uh, I guess it's called X now instead of Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm on all the social media, but LinkedIn, I
Okay.
put a lot of more of the professional DevOps related posts on LinkedIn.
Okay, amazing. All right. Well, Monica, thank you again for joining me on today's episode and for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we can better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!